Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. Today we're going to be diving into the world of brushes, specifically eyeshadow brushes, you guys know, or if you're new around here, hello, my name is Katie. Not only do I love eyeshadow palettes, but I love eyeshadow brushes, specifically if they're nice, tiny, and more of the detailed, tiny type of blending and whatnot brushes. I absolutely love them, have way too many of them, and I thought it'd be fun to sit down at the end of the year. I realize we're in the beginning of the year, but I had thought to do this in December, but I wanted to sit down and share with you guys all the brush discoveries that I made in 2021. Most of them are just outstanding and just so amazing that I really want to share them with you because not all of them are super high and expensive and luxury price brushes. I have a lot of them from like indie makeup or just drugstore makeup brands that are just fantastic that I can recommend. And I thought it'd also be fun to share with you guys that maybe some brush sets I would recommend avoiding or that just didn't impress me that much. So we're going to be sharing in today's video the best and the worst brush discoveries that I made in 2021. Okay, so I figured I'll start in a little bit of a low note. So we're going to start with the worst brushes that I discovered and then we'll work our way all the way up to the best brushes. I feel like it's always nice to kind of end on a high note. So let's first talk about brushes that I personally don't recommend. First off is going to be this brush set that I bought from Makeup by Tammi. Now, I'm not exactly sure if she still has these available anymore on her website. I want to say the last time I went to her website, I didn't see them, but these were labeled or just promoted. I forget the wording, but I bought them thinking they would be a great graphic liner set of brushes, like tiny little detailed for graphic liner. And I think there were probably, was it a set of 10? I think there might have even been 10 brushes or 8 brushes. There were a good many more than what you see here. However, if you can't see, the majority of the brushes, I'm going to try to hold them up here so you guys can see. Majority of the brushes are huge, and at least for me personally, in the type of like graphic liner I like to do like today, I can't use something that huge for graphic liner. So I think there was about 2 or 3 that were teeny tiny like this that I could use. But as I said, the majority of the brushes in that set, they were just like ginormous. So I've given most of them, the big ones, away to my daughter to use either for makeup and play, or like I said, like some of them are so big they can use in their painting and stuff on paper and whatnot. They were just huge, and I did not see that. Like I remember looking on the website trying to see how big they were to gauge if they were really nice and tiny detail brushes, and it was just obviously very difficult to tell because I bought these hoping to use them for graphic liner, but I could only use 2, I think 3. I know I'm missing a couple of them because some are dirty and whatnot, but I think there's about 3 that I can use and the rest are just kind of a waste. And for me personally, while the whole set wasn't a whole lot of money, I can't remember exactly how much I spent, not being able to use the vast majority of them just doesn't make it worth the purchase of the bundle itself. If I could have purchased them individually, then I'd probably say, yeah, the 00 and the 000, those 2 would be the ones I recommend because they're the teeniest, tiniest. But we're going to talk about some other brushes that I recommend over these. So as a whole, these just were a big letdown when I got them and I saw them and I was just like, okay. Especially this one, the 6 brush, it's just so big. Alright, next up is going to be this brush set from Metamorphosis Cosmetics. I think there were 11 brushes that came in here. I have a bunch here. I just grabbed any that I saw from them. I know this brush set wasn't like super expensive. I want to say it was about or less than $1 per brush. Like it was pretty affordable. So I bought it kind of hoping to be able to use at least half and be able to enjoy them. But for me personally, I will still be able to use some of them in here. Like especially the nice flat kind of concealer type brushes. You guys know I like using them for my shimmers. And a couple of the blending brushes I will use, but they're not my preference. A lot of the brushes in here, especially the bigger blending one, are very like straight cut across and I like more of a taper to my sides. They're all nicely soft, the ones with the dark bristles. They're very soft. I didn't really notice any kind of crazy, issues with shedding or anything like that when I washed them. They're nice and soft, but I'm just not a fan of the cut, and they're also very large for what I prefer when it comes to blending brushes. Just for a size comparison, so here are those sizes, and these are kind of my preferred blending. I just find the smaller the blending brush, the more colors I can add to my eyelid, and the better the blend is for me personally. So when I prefer this size brush and the kind of taper to the side that I can get with these were just a little underwhelming, and I just, as a whole, the whole brush set, like I said, I know it wasn't a whole lot of money, it's just not my preference. And also too, with these, the lighter brown colored bristles, whichever, I don't know if there's a difference between the 2, but some are like dark brown and some are very light caramel brown. The caramel colored ones, I like them for the flat ones, the 2 flat ones that you can apply, but the other ones that are, I guess, supposed to be blending, they're very very stiff. I don't really find them pleasant to use. And then there's a couple really flat ones that you could use for like winging it out or maybe in your brows, but they're too thick for me to use to wing out. So they're just kind of a waste, and I can foresee myself decluttering the majority of these brushes in the future. So that's the biggest reason why I'm putting it in kind of like a fail for me as one of the worst brush sets that I tried. I just wasn't super impressed. Again, not to say anything super bad about the quality of the brushes themselves. Not a huge issue, just not my preference when it comes to size and the cut of the bristles. Next up is going to be a brush set. Now this, I don't think I've said it, but the first two that we talked about, I purchased that. This was sent to me in PR. This is from Flawless Cosmetics, and this is not so much as like a total fail, but just like a preference wise, it's kind of like right there in the middle from worst and best. I have a few that we're going to talk about now, and this will be one of them. This is the Flawless Cosmetics brush set. I think it just comes as this little brush set. I don't think you can buy them individually. I like this little tiny one for the inner corner highlight. That's really great, but the other three are just kind of awkward / weird. This one looks like it should be nice for like a flat applying to your lid, but it actually is like not really tapered very nicely, so it has a hard time actually picking up shadow to apply, but it also isn't like super fluffy, so it doesn't really work for blending. So it's, like I said, it's an awkward brush. I tend to use it for my lower lash line, but again, kind of stiff. Not to say that they're rough or like scratchy, the bristles, but it's just a little stiff feeling. So, and then with these two, they're kind of like pointer brushes, and I have used them as inner corner kind of a highlight and just applying that shimmer there, but they're really, I don't know, they're just an awkward shaped brush, so I just don't find myself reaching for them. And again, they're that brush set that I can foresee myself decluttering soon. I just feel like I use half of them. I use these two on occasion, but I really honestly rarely ever think to use these. So like I said, not a total fail because I actually used, you know, half, almost the majority of the brush set, but just one of my preferences when I'm reaching for brushes, they're not one of the first ones that I'm gonna like, oh yeah, I'll grab that one to use. It was just kind of like a so-so brush set. Moving on, I tried one of the brushes from Mitchell. This is the number 2. It's just a tiny little fluffy blending brush, and I put it in the mid because I feel like quality-wise, it's not super scratchy, but it is a little like getting to that frayed point where like the bristles aren't really like holding together. Like they still feel soft. They're not scratchy like Morphe Cosmetics when they get super like this, but they're also just not looking the greatest. They're getting a little like as I wash them and whatnot. Now, I'm not someone who like babies my brushes when I wash them or even when I use them, so maybe that's my fault. But just quality wise, I feel like there's a couple more brushes when it comes to this size that I would recommend over it, and some that are like, I think at the same price or cheaper than this that I prefer. So for me, when I'm thinking back to this purchase that I made, I think it was around 10 or a little over $10. It's kind of like, I really don't reach for it that much, especially because it's just getting that kind of like spidery effect to the bristles around the edges. And for me, when I'm using that to blend, I don't prefer my bristles to be like going everywhere. So definitely a preference thing. It's not the worst quality, but it's just meh right there in the middle for me. Another brush set, I swear this one came with 4, but I can only find 3. I was looking all over. I'm sure it's staring right in front of me over there, but I'll link the correct one down below and you guys can see. This is a brush set that, again, quality wise, I feel like they feel nice, they perform nicely, but they're just that interesting cut that makes it so I don't use them very much. Specifically with these two, and I'm almost positive the other one, even though, like I said, I can't find it. But these two are very interestingly cut. This one's kind of like a fluffy blending brush, but it is so sharply cut on the top. It's not nice and tapered down the edges, so I just don't prefer that type of cut, so I don't reach for it often. And then this one is just an interesting cut. Like it almost looks like one that you would use to kind of like blend the outer, like the darkest outer color and pack it on and blend, but it doesn't have a taper to the sides and it's just very bluntly cut, so it's just an awkward brush. Again, not that this is the worst brush I tried or the quality is terrible, it's just an interesting cut that makes me not reach for it. I think the quality is there with the, you know, the bristles, they feel nice, the ferrules and all them look nice and feel nice as well. They hold up. I will own these for a while, but when it comes to the cut, I just don't find myself reaching for these very often, and honestly, I can for sure see myself decluttering these, so hence why I'm putting it right here in the middle as just being like, it's an okay brush set. I do like this little guy, and that's the one I use the most, but that's it. Next up is going to be Oden's Eye, and again, this is in that kind of it's not a worst, it's not a total fail, but it's just the cuts are so interesting and different, or just different and interesting from what I prefer, that's why I'm kind of putting it here in the middle of being okay. I have one just blending brush from them, and then this came in a set. Not to say that they're getting the spot because the quality is bad. I think the bristles are so nice and soft. They feel great. They hold up well to washing and whatnot. I think they look beautiful, but I think the cut is a little bit interesting, specifically with the blending brushes. I think think these tiny little guys, I use them the most. This is a little kind of like inner corner, works great, feels great, the bristles are nice, and then this is like a tiny little outer packing for me personally. That's why I use it for. Or a smudger. They work great. I love them. I think my issue and the reason I don't reach for them often is because with their blending brushes, again, they have that really severe kind of like straight across cut to them without a whole lot of taper to the sides. And for me personally, they're kind of large, kind of like I was saying. I prefer to have my blending brushes more on the smaller side. So with these, they're just, I mean, some of them are like double, but they're just a little bit large from what I prefer. So that's just why for me personally, I think quality of the Oden's eye brushes is very nice. Visually, they're very pretty. They hold it very well. But when we're talking about the, you know, how often I use them, how often I reach for them, and how I like the cut of their brushes and the, you know, the type of brushes they put in their bundle for these, not this one. This one's sold separately. But for these, they're just not my favorite. So that's why they're getting right here in the middle, just being, it's okay. Okay, so now we have moved past. We talked about the worst. We talked about the meh. Now we're going to get on to talking about the best brushes that I discovered this past year. And one or two of them might be over a year, but I wanted to include them in this video because they're just so amazing. So let's talk about those first. That might be a little bit older. Luna Magic. This little brush set I was introduced in a BoxyCharm. It comes in this one brush set, and I want to say it's under $20 or cheaper. It could be cheaper. Don't quote me on that, but it's a pretty affordably priced for 4 brushes. One of which is a face brush, which tends to be, you know, face brushes are a little bit more than eyeshadow brushes. But anyway, these little brushes are fantastic. And the thing that just has me raving about them so much is that they're uniquely shaped. They're more interesting than what you typically see in a brush set. I feel like brush sets, you get like a million really big, fat kind of blending brushes, and then a couple just weird spoolie liner that's too fat for a liner, those type of things. But this, I feel like each one of these brushes I use not infrequently, like almost like every week I would say I'm using at least one of these in my eye look when I'm blending it out. I love this little highlight brush. It works so well. I use it all the time. I even bought a second set of this off of Mercari because I liked it so much. So I have 2 of each of these brushes. This is a little outer packing brush that works so well. It has a nice taper to the side, picks up things very nicely. All the bristles are just so very soft. I also use it to smudge the lower lash line sometime. Same with this guy. This smudges the lower lash line. And then last up is this blending brush. It's a little bit larger than what I like, as I was holding up before, is these two. But as you can see, it's not too terribly large, and it has a really nice taper. So this is the type of blending brush that with such a nice taper, I like to take it clean after my eyeshadow looks and kind of just take the sides and blend all over to get as seamless a blend out to my face as I can, just so there's no harsh lines from the color to my skin. And this is the type of brush that I like, and it's just got such a nice taper to it. And yeah, I've raved about these before, but they really are fantastic brushes. Okay, next one is going to be one I actually don't have a brand, but I bought off of Mercari, so this is going to be my recommendation, or Amazon. Amazon is kind of the same thing. Mercari, the only reason I bought it off of Mercari is because I had cash on there from selling something else, so I picked these up. But I've seen these sets on Amazon, and these are great. Tiny detailed graphic liner brushes. And the way to find these is, at least for me, I type in nail art brushes. So, you know, the nail art, people who, you know, like draw on their nails need really tiny detail brushes, and they work so amazing for graphic liner. So that's what I bought. This is meant for nails. It's got the little dots on the other end for, you know, if you want to do nail art, but I use these specifically for my graphic liner, and they work so well. There were 5 in a bunch. All 5 of them are great, tiny little shape. I will try to find this exact one on Amazon, and I'll have it linked down below if you want to pick them up, but it's just such a great little set. I love it so much. And after buying the Tammi one, trying to get that for graphic liner and to have a lot of different options, picking this up, I was like, score, and it was cheaper than the Tammi one, so overall I was super happy about that. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more pricey, but these are Sonia G brushes. I tried Sonia G this past year, and if you want to splurge, I would say pick up a Sonia G brush. And my personal recommendation would be this one. This is the Mini Booster. If you are looking for like that tiny little detail brush, the Mini Booster is one of my favorites to use. Her other ones are really nice, not saying there's anything wrong with them. I have a couple of these. I always look for them on Mercari or Poshmark. I look for someone to post them at a really great price, and then I pick it up. That's how I purchased all of mine except for one. I bought one full price just to try the quality out, and I was so impressed. I've gone on to slowly build my collection of Sonia G brushes, and they are really nice. They're incredibly soft. They blend so well. There's just something really special about the brushes, and a lot of detail goes into them, into the actual bristles, because each one of these has like the perfect amount of taper to the side, the perfect amount of fullness to the brush to make them almost multi-purpose. Like this little packer brush on the outside, you could use it to pack shadow on the brush, but it also has a good bit of like bulk to it in general for this brush, so it works really well to blend as well. And then this brush, again, a great little pecker brush, but also it's so flat and has a nice taper to the side that you could use it for shimmer or matte. They're just very, very nice. Now, do you need to buy this in order to blend your eyeshadows well? I don't think so at all. We're going to continue on to talk about some pretty affordable brushes that I also love, but these are nice, so I couldn't not mention them in this video. Let's talk about Rephr. I have just 2 brushes here because the other ones are dirty and I just can't find them right now. But these brushes are nice. I feel like they've been the rave on YouTube for a couple years now, and I finally picked up a couple to try. I have the 13 and the 15 here, and then I've also had the 14. My preference is definitely the 13 and 14. The 15 for me personally is just too big when it comes to blending, so I rarely use them. But when we're talking about quality and how they feel, the taperness to the side and all that, the density of the brushes themselves, they are very nice. I do enjoy them. I do think that they are worth the money when you can get them on sale. I never buy them unless they're on sale, and then I buy enough to hit $50 or $60 to get free shipping. So for me personally, once I hit that mark, when they're on sale, like 40 or 60% off, I forget, or 50% off, I forget. They always have some kind of pretty good sale a couple times a year. So I would say, like, don't buy them full price. Not that they're bad full price, but since they go on sale so frequently, it's like, just wait a little bit and you can get them on sale and maybe buy a couple to hit the $50, get free shipping, because shipping can be expensive. And I do think they're worth it. They're really nice and I have enjoyed them. As I said, the 13 and 14, the 15 is just too big for me. But those two, 13 and 14, I do really like. I can't not talk about BK Beauty brushes. Now, I really do love her brushes. I'm really hoping she comes out in 2022 or 23 with some more detailed blending brushes, because most of her brushes are a little bit bigger, and it makes sense because her brand is more about kind of like the everyday makeup, not so much my type of makeup. But I would love it if she came out with more detailed blending brushes and just small packer brushes and stuff like that. But she does have a couple that I love, and I use these guys a lot. This E06 brush, or E08 brush, yeah, E08 is a great little liner brush. If you like the Sigma E06, I think it was. Maybe that's why I thought 6. E06 brush is a tiny little angled liner brush. This is just like the same thing. Maybe a touch bigger, but works just as well. It's fantastic. This little guy is great for under the eye smudging, the 204 brush. I love this 207 brush for either outer corner or under eye smudging. And then this 202, again, a little bigger than I like for blending. Like, this is not anything I would use to blend my inner corner and whatnot, but it is nice to kind of like on the outer edges to blend everything in. The quality is absolutely there. They're very nice brushes. They feel nice and whatnot, so definitely more pricey, but they are great quality, and I do hope she comes out with more detailed blending brushes and whatnot, because I'm definitely excited for those. But with that said, these 4 are definitely my favorites from BK Beauty. Okay, this is a bit random, but I'm throwing it in here because when I ordered from GlamShop, I also threw in one of their brushes. This is the 0122. I tend to do that when I buy brushes, as you guys saw from the Made by Mitchell brush, but when I order a palette and like I need a little bit more money to kind of get to the free shipping, I'll throw in a little brush. And I threw this one in because I was like, ooh, that looks like a tiny little blending brush, and it absolutely is, and it's absolutely fantastic. It reminds me of a brush from Sigma that I absolutely love. What is it called? I don't know, I can't find it, but it reminds me of one of those really tiny, it's got a really nice taper to the side, so it works really well to get in there in my inner corner and really not only deposit color, but blend the color really nicely and without it getting everywhere. You know, if you use something too big to try to do your inner corner, then you have like your whole eyelid is just covered in that color. No, this is really nice and detailed, and it just works great to put the color right where you want and blend very gently around it. It's nice and detailed. The quality is really nice. It's held up really well. I've owned this for several months now, and it's just a great little hidden gem, I feel like, because it was just, I've never heard anyone talk about GlamShop brushes, but trying this, I definitely, the next time I purchase from GlamShop, I do want to get a few more to try because I was super impressed with this. Next up, let's talk about What's Up Beauty. These brushes are so nice. Now, they are a little bit pricier to the point where I would put them on like the Rephr kind of level, and maybe even Sonia G. I don't think they're as expensive as Sonia G, but maybe Rephr, I could be mistaken, but they remind me of Rephr and just below Sonia G. I wouldn't put them quite at Sonia G level because they're just, there's something soft about the Sonia G brushes, but they definitely do remind me of Rephr brushes a lot. So if you like the quality of Rephr, you probably enjoy the What's Up Beauty brushes. Now, I can't remember, I think you can get them individually. So my recommendation would not be the R104 brush, even though it's the quality is nice, the taper is really nice, the density is nice, the just everything about the brush is lovely. Again, it's just very large for what I prefer. So my preferences when it comes, and the ones I use so much, is the R105. I used it this morning, and that's the only thing I blended out the matte in this look with. And then I also love the R102. Again, a great little just detailed blending brushes. I can use this in my inner corner without making a mess everywhere. I love the R1 R101. This is great for either lower lash or to pack on my shimmer. Works amazing. And then this R106, again, a great little outer corner packing brush, or even I could use it for shimmer if I want to, but I tend to just use it for packing because I like my really flat brushes for shimmers. But anyway, quality of these are just so outstanding. They're a new brand that came out this year and I was super impressed. I like their eyeshadow palette a lot, but the brushes, like I use them all the time every week. There's always, as you can see, there's always a dirty brush because I'm always reaching for them. They are fantastic. Okay, I've mentioned this several times in previous videos, but I'm gonna say it again because I just can't believe how nice these are. These are Profusion's brushes. Now, I don't know if this is like a specific line in Profusion, but it's the dark kind of matte, think NARS velvet packaging handles with the kind of gold. It's not solid like a yellow gold, but it's gold-ish ferrules. Those brushes, I cannot recommend them enough, and they're not that expensive. I would say they're a little bit more than e.l.f. They're just so great, and you can get them at Walmart, so I can't recommend them enough. My personal recommendation is going to be the ES5 brush. This is fantastic for putting a shimmer on your lid. Even for the outer corner, it's detailed enough, but it works in so many different ways. I love it. It's nice and flat, picks up shimmers so well, and I love the ES6 brush as well. This little blending brush, it reminds me of the GlamShop one because I use it right there and blending out my mattes in my crease. Works great, can also work on your lower lash line. The quality of these brushes are so soft, so nice. I've owned them for so long. I've never had one like shed. I've never had one fall apart. They're really nice quality, especially for the price. Like I can't get over how nice they are for like what price they are. It's just crazy. I can't recommend them enough. I also love the ES2, a little bit bigger for the outer corner if I'm wanting to use more than one color, but for a look like today, I would have totally used this on my outer corner and blended it in and I would have loved it. So another great brush, has a great taper to the side. This blending brush as well has a great taper to the side. This last one, ES3, I do love it as well. It's a little bit bigger, so I tend to use it for kind of blending the outer edges of my look or just blending the outside colors because it's just too big to get in there, but it has such a nice taper to it, such a nice taper to the sides, picks up shadows so well, and they all just blend shadows so well as well because they're just such a nice brush. Like the bristles are just so very nice. So overall, like this is the one that just blew me out of the park with like how affordable they are. You don't have to buy them in a set, so you can just buy the brushes you like. They're at Walmart, so you can see them and be able to see the size and be like, oh yeah, I love that size. That works for my eyes. So that's another reason that I recommend these if you're wanting to have like a starting point for really nice brushes that blend really well, but that don't cost an arm and a leg like Sonia G. This would be my recommendation. Profusion, fantastic. This is the Easy Crease Definer brush, and I can't remember, it's like Color Cosmetics. I'll put it on the screen here, but I got this in a Ipsy box, and it's the most unique little brush. It is a triangle shaped blending brush, but it's so tiny and detailed, as you can see. It works great. I find myself using it so many times. It's got a nice bit of like density to it and like bulk to it, so it works great in either blending in the inside, or even if I want to like put a lot of color on the outside, I can use it to really get that color in there, or maybe mix the color together. I just find myself using it so much. The quality is so nice. It has a really cool sleek shape to it. The bristles themselves are so comfortable, and yeah, this brush, like I said, it randomly showed up in an Ipsy and I was like, oh, that's an interesting size. Like, let me try that out. And it's been a brush that anytime it's clean, I get it dirty the next day because I love it that much. Another random brush that I got from Colored Raine, and I love this so much, I just placed another order with Colored Raine and I threw in another one of these. But this is the shadow brush from the Safari Raine collection. It doesn't have a number on it, but it is still available on the website. But if you like a nice flat brush that picks up shimmer well, this is a fantastic brush. And even if I wanted to use it for cutting the crease, something to put concealer on, this would also be a fantastic brush because it's not too fat. It, you know, kind of flattens out really nicely if you put some concealer on it. Not too big for my eyelid, that it works really well, not being too small and detailed and taking forever, but also not too large and causing a mess. So this brush is just fantastic. I love the quality. I picked up another, and I also do want to try the other brush in this collection. It's a little blending brush. I'm hoping it's a tiny little blending brush, but I picked that up and it's on its way. All right, I had to save the one that I was the most excited for last because this one came right at the end of 2021 and just blew my socks off and was like the answer to all of my searching in 2021. As I said, I wanted to find a brush set that I could recommend to you, preferably from an indie brand. That tends to be what I like to, you know, buy from, and also just to promote on here and let you guys know about great indie brushes that you can pick up. So I've been on the hunt all year, and then Blend Bunny Cosmetics launched a brush set that has 5 blending brushes that are just phenomenal. I mean, I knew she would do a great job. If you don't follow Blend Bunny on Instagram, you need to, because her looks are insane and she always has those tiny little detail brushes. And I remember asking her, like, what brushes do you use? And hint, hint, like, can you come out with your own set? Because I know you'll do it really well, and I know that whatever you put out and call tiny blending brushes, I know they're going to be tiny. Because as I said, you know, when we were talking in the beginning about brushes that I was disappointed in, I was hoping for tiny brushes, and I got like majority of them big fat brushes that I just don't use as much. So these brushes are fantastic. They come with 5 in a set and also a little like a little container or pouch you can keep them in. But she color coordinated them so that you could use them in order and kind of create your look, and you can see the kind of the steps, but of course you don't have to use them like that. But you can start with like the darkest color, then work a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, lightest. And even the biggest brush in this set is fantastic. Like, just as a size comparison, I was saying that E13 I absolutely love. It's maybe double that, maybe. It's honestly not, probably not even double, just a little bit bigger than that. It's kind of similar to, let me think of a brush in front of me that would be similar size. Maybe the R102. Yeah, it's kind of about that size, the R102, which is smaller than the E40, which is probably like the E35. But anyway, all that to say, it's not a huge blending brush. Kind of like I said, the 15 from Rephr was just far too big, as you can see. Like, it's easily double the size of the largest brush here. So these are just a fantastic size. And if you're someone who has a lot of like flat brushes or just huge blending brushes, and you're wanting to expand your brush collection but get something unique and you want to get more of those tiny detail brushes, you can buy this and you will use all 5 of them in some capacity. I would say these 3 of them are going to be the detail blending brushes that get the job done, whereas these, yes, they blend, not saying they don't blend, but these are more so brushes that I tend to use for like lower lash line, or if I'm wanting to add a color in between something. This is just me also speaking as someone who's not into like the crazy amazing blending jobs that Blend Bunny does. She uses all of these to create those amazing blends. Me, I'm usually using, I don't always use so many in a look, but for me personally, these 2 are so nice and tiny. I can use in my inner corner. This is great for my outer corner, and these are my favorite for my lower lash line. This one too I've also used as my inner corner if I really want to stamp on a color and get it there, because it's just so nice and tiny. And it's just, they're great brushes. I cannot find one single complaint about them. They're nice quality. They feel nice. The ferrule's so nice. I've had no issues with any of the bristles getting scratchy as I wash them or falling off, or I mean just anything. Like, they're just so nice. They got a great taper to the side, just the perfect amount for the different brushes. You know, some brushes are more for packing, some are more for blending, so they just have great quality. Like I said, if you asked me for a set to recommend you for tiny detail brushes, this would be number 1. And I mean, I've talked about many amazing brushes in the video today. Any of the ones that I've talked about as being great finds for 2021, I recommend them wholeheartedly. But if you're wanting to buy one brush set, this would be the brush set I feel like you can't go wrong with, and it's not that crazy expensive. You can wait for a sale would be my recommendation. I do know she has a few affiliates floating around there if you want to find one of the affiliate codes and purchase it. Overall though, I just highly recommend this brush set, and I was super impressed with it. And I'm not gonna lie, the last time she had a sale, I almost bought another brush set because I was like, I would like to have 2 of each, please. So, a great brush set. Okay, we made it to the end. I don't know why I said I was going to try to be short and to the point and make this video short, because that was a lot of brushes to cover, but I really tried to keep it short and to the point as much as I could while talking to you guys about these brushes that I love so much, and I hope it was helpful for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know these videos aren't super popular on YouTube, but I love eyeshadow brushes, as I've said a million times in this video. I love eyeshadow brushes, and I feel like these videos are, you know, maybe not needed all the time and not super popular to watch, but when you're looking for good tiny detail brushes or just good eyeshadow brushes in general, I want this video to be out there so you guys know my recommendations and the amazing brushes that I found in 2021. So many great brushes that I tried this past year. I was just so impressed, so happy. Yes, this eyeshadow brush addict is just over the moon with so many fantastic brushes that I use on the daily. All the ones that I talked about, I use them so often. I'm always washing them because they're always dirty. So with that said, that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Let me know if there's any brush discoveries that you discovered for tiny detailed, either blending or applying. You know, it doesn't have to always be blending brush, but just tiny detail brushes. Any ones that you discovered that you would like to share with me, leave them down below in the comments. I'm over on Instagram. I'm LadyKatie92 over there if you want to follow me. I post kind of every day. I've been trying to keep up every day, but since the pregnancy, it's been a little rough. So I post there when I can, LadyKatie92. And with all that said, I will see you guys very soon in my next one. Bye guys.